Hey, what's up, people? If there's people in the room, we're streaming to Facebook. Stand by. Got to let it breathe. Even on these weird nights. This is weird where it's just one screen.
Yeah, what are we supposed to do here?
Where's the split screen? We need like a partition between us.
We can pretend. Just pretend there's a wall here. I'll point the other direction like you're over here
Okay.
awkwardly.
Okay. There's a post from ourselves. Let's see. We got 7 people in the room.
Lucky 7.
Lucky 7. Welcome in, everybody. It is a what would you call this? Like
It's a
impromptu
victory Sunday is what it is.
It is. We've had a blast today. Welcome in Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm Chad Jensen. We have had a blast at the MHH meet and greet. And instead of trying to do the gut reaction from the tailgate like we did last year and then the tailgate authority trying to 86 us, we thought, let's just get back to the hotel. We'll do it from the hotel. So here we are. Chad, Scott Kennedy. Scott, dude, what did you see tonight? Real quick, what were your thoughts on the game? We watched it with Dale and his wife. It was a phenomenal experience.
D-Dub, thank you for your hospitality. It was wonderful. In Denver, thank you for your hospitality. First off, that stadium rocks, literally. When it starts getting loud, it shakes, and it is phenomenal. It is so cool. Even the Denver Broncos fans, so that was one of my first impressions with Broncos country, was how Broncos country showed up and showed out, even when they were getting a little annoyed with, there's some boo birds out there. But when
there were times they deserved it.
Sure. So when it was time to get loud, they got loud.
Yep.
So they were still behind their team, even if they were a little agitated. It's one of those like, I can get mad at my brother, but you better not. I'm still going to stand up for him.
It's still my brother.
This offensive line needs a lot of work. It's scary for me, and the defense is legit. I know it hasn't been, Pat Mahomes yet.
Yeah,
but it was Jimmy G and Jimmy G,
especially with Josie Jewell back in the middle.
Josie Jewell, that was one of the things we sat there a lot, and I didn't get to talk to you the whole time because it was loud,
very loud,
which is to point one. But one of those points was Josie Jewell does not get enough credit from Broncos country. No more shade on this guy.
Yeah,
the dude
agreed.
Is a good football player. Just flat out, he is a good football player.
Give the props where they're deserved on Josie Jewell. Last I looked at the box score, and we watched the game with ours, we could see the whole field, perfect seats right on the 50 basically. And the last I looked at the box score, Michaela jumping in. Look at this, just generosity. She comes to the game, she kicks it, she contributes to the content, she joins us for that pregame podcast. Then she goes and watches the game as a winner of the MHH red carpet giveaway alongside Gary Leeds Palmer. Shout out to Gary, GLP. And here she is throwing down a super chat. Love you, Michaela. Thank you. She says, great game. Thank you for a great time. It was a great time.
And it was great to meet you, Michaela, in person.
Yes.
I've gotten to converse with you online several times with doing the night shows, but not as much as Zach and Chad. So it was great to meet you in person. Great to meet everybody in person. The meet and greet was fantastic. Thanks for everybody for coming out. And for those of y'all that missed it, hopefully we'll see you next time. This isn't the last one we're going to do. That's for sure.
No, that was tons of fun. It was the second annual. And you know what? MHH meet and greet remains undefeated with your Denver Broncos. 2-0, baby. Perfect 2-0. Week 3 both times. The Broncos, Scott, you were telling me. Oh, let me just finish my thought. Josie Jewell, last I looked at the box score, 8 tackles, led the team. Fumble recovery, sack, playmaking whiz. I mean, would you maybe hazard to say a whirling dervish, Scott?
That was the key. It wasn't just box score. What's the eye test tell you? Sometimes you'll see, guys that they pile up numbers, but the eye test tells you that that's all they are.
Yes.
They're hollow numbers. He was making plays. He was making plays behind the line of scrimmage. He was making plays, forcing turnovers. He was moving everybody around. When there was one play he came off, it was on a 3rd and short. And as he came off, everybody was freaking lost.
Yeah.
I mean, lost. Randy Gregory's got his hands in the air. He ended up lining up at middle linebacker and walked up to the line of scrimmage in the gap and ended up rushing. It's like, and then a play goes to the opposite side and it wasn't covered well. The guy is an incredibly important piece of this team.
Give him his props. Super chat here from Orange Crush 7. What's good? He says, and thank you, buddy. We appreciate it, especially after a long night. It would have been easy for us to just say, let's go home and go to bed. Let's go back to the hotel. Saw some logs. We'll live to fight another day on the podcast. But no, we knew we needed to talk to you guys. So Orange Crush, thank you for throwing down. Michaela, thank you for throwing down supers tonight. It means a lot to us. He says, ugly, but I'll take it. A Broncos win. Raiders, Chargers, Chiefs, Seagulls, Brady, and Belichick all lose. What a great Sunday.
First place.
Scott, yeah, you were telling me that it's technically 2-1 with the Chiefs, but Broncos own the tiebreaker.
Yeah, the tiebreaker as you go down the list would be their losses to an AFC opponent, the Broncos' losses to an NFC opponent. Broncos are in first place in the AFC West after 3 games. Kind of where you thought you might be, right?
It's like the most dissatisfied first place 3 weeks in that maybe Broncos country can remember. But when's the last time they were? Well, I guess last year they were 3-0 after.
3-0.
So
they were 3-0, but there is more upside to this team. You know, they haven't even started feeling what they can do on the offensive side of the ball, and this defense is coming together very, very nicely. I think this was probably their biggest challenge so far on offense. Geno Smith has done some good things this year, but he's erratic.
Yeah.
Davis Mills, Houston Texans, not so good. But Jimmy Garoppolo and the San Francisco 49ers have put up points in the past, and they looked inept. Except for one drive, they looked inept out there.
True. And they were helped by an inept opponent offensively. Broncos defense. They were the heroes tonight. But I'll say this.
Hold on. I'm going to interrupt on this one too, because game balls also, it wasn't just defense. There's 3 phases.
Yeah.
It was defense and special teams.
But Brandon McManus with the miss.
That's true. So I'm thinking more of the punting and punt coverage.
So
you're pinning those guys back into their, making them go along field almost the entire game. Another gut reaction for me was penalties were cleaned up. Operation for getting the plays in were cleaned up. Now the execution hasn't been fixed.
Right.
But for me, a lot of that has to go with making sure the offensive line starts playing better, because that offensive line scares me, Chad.
It's one of the worst in the NFL right now.
We talk about schemes and the old phrase, it's not the X's and O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes. Well, the Jimmies and Joes didn't change.
Yeah.
And we're expecting them to change based on a scheme. And right now, they haven't.
I want to know what kind of pictures Lloyd Cushenberry has on this front office. Somehow he manages to remain the incumbent, is the starter. He has Russell Wilson saying kind, gracious, flattering things about him in the press, like he's a 3-time All-Pro. Yeah, Phil, good to see you, buddy. Evening, right back at you. He says it was ugly, but it's a win, and that it was. As we scroll through the chat, your producers tonight managing the chat are on screen right now, so you gotta bear with us here. The Duchess again with that super thank you. Really love you. You know this. Garth, what's good, bro? He says Broncos win. Shout out GLP. GLP was a trooper. GLP made the pilgrimage to Broncos country Mecca. And remember, Broncos country, it's not a geographic location. It's a state of being. But this is where the Broncos play. So he made the pilgrimage to the Mecca from, I don't want to betray where he lives. I don't know if he's ever shared public, so I'm not going to say it, but a long, many miles away, a long, long way. So we appreciate him coming and holding down the fort. He's a trooper. So we appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure. And, as Garth Knight he came in already. Thank you, Garth.
Chris,
here we weren't sure how many people were going to be in, but they're rolling in.
Yeah, we're about 300 something.
I said it to the folks in person. I'll say it tonight. You're why we're here. So thank you for
the only reason we're here.
Exactly.
So Chris Hernandez was here with us at the meet and greet. Made the pilgrimage from his particular neck of the woods. It was great to meet you in person for the first time, Chris, and your lovely wife. And thank you for the super too, dude. After the fact too, throwing down a super. He says, I usually super chat the Broncos score, which is true as per tradition. He says, but my phone isn't allowing me. So here's an orange one for a Broncos win,
That's
dude.
Right.
Hey, thank you, Chris.
Chris,
you're a champ.
Orange. It was a pleasure meeting you as well today. So, and I just the chat jumped.
Do you want me to put the thing back over here?
If you want to run it, that's fine.
We'll tag team it. Victor, what's going on, bro? He says 3 things we can take away from this. Hackett cleaned up his time management. Our defense is legit, and the last touchdown drive was perfect. So we need to talk about that.
Yes.
When the chips were down, Russell Wilson delivered yet another. Technical glitch. We're back. It's all good. Let not your hearts be troubled. Technical glitch. We roll with the punches here at MHH. As I was saying, Scott, Russell Wilson, chips were down. He did it last week against Houston, did it again tonight. But you made a very salient point to me about the value of an offense when the only time the quarterback can really like make plays is off script. And what is the value of that?
Yeah, there's a old saying I used to hear that the broken play is not a basis for an offense. And the sandlot football was how the Broncos finally started moving the ball. That's not the basis for an offense. It's a good quiver to have when things break down. Oh, when things break down, we can then not amplify. What's the word I'm looking for?
Magnify?
No, it's not. It's, forget it. You can make changes on the fly. There's
okay, innovate. I don't know. I don't know.
You can make changes on the fly. You're not stuck to just one plan.
Yeah.
You can make something out of nothing. That's a good thing.
You can create.
But that can't be the basis for how you move the ball, or you're going to be an ineffective offense. And right now, that's all I see, Chad.
Yeah.
The only time the Broncos are making plays is when a play breaks down. And as you see, there's too many negative plays that go along with that.
Sad but true. Some progress though that I think we should talk about before we grab Andre Williams. Appreciate you, bro. Is that Russ, after rushing for a total of I think 5 yards through 2 games, he used his legs significantly more tonight and to great effect. Almost stretched on that 1/3 down. Broncos challenged, not quite there. He wasn't quite there. Looked like he might have been, but he wasn't. But I was glad to see that. Andre says, all I got to say is let's ride. But holy bad word. Can we please let Russ cook and run? Defense saved us and jobs. Let's ride. Hashtag Broncos Country. Hashtag MHH. You rock. Thank you, buddy. You the man, Andre. You guys give credit to Russ for getting that drive at the end, okay? But he did not play well. So when you say let Russ cook, he was given a lot of opportunities, but at the same time, there are caveats.
Well, there's
O-line.
There's lots of them. The offensive line, as soon as they're dropping, I understand you take a drop back to get into your pass set, but you're at least supposed to slow the guy down in front of you. You're supposed to set.
Some degree.
You're supposed to set, not just end up in the lap of your quarterback.
It's called pass protection after all.
And those guys were in the lap of Russell Wilson all night. 1, 2. Your wide receivers, you're basically down to Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
And that's okay as long as both of them are healthy. But we've got to – Cortland Sutton needs to start protecting himself. He's too valuable on this. He took a big hit early where he was fighting for an extra foot of meaningless yardage, and here comes a linebacker in, and
he could have just gone out of bounds.
Right, and he gets another. It's like, it's kind of a disparaging term to call someone a sideline hunter. Mm-hmm. In this case, I don't mind.
Yeah,
Cortland, protect yourself. Get out of bounds, dude. Get down. Limit the punishment. And then Russ has to play better. He missed a few open throws, and that has to go better. So there's 3 phases. The good news is you got to win because your defense carried you. The offense will get better. It's not going to be like this all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much better the offensive line is going to get, but the other phases can get better.
Yeah.
Your receivers can play better, and Russell Wilson can play better.
Jason, thank you for the super chat, my friend. He says there were some definite improvements. I hope the boys can keep it going and the offense can ramp up some more and the defense can stay dominant. Yeah, buddy. I mean, that's the cool thing is good teams do win ugly. In other words, even when things aren't going perfectly, when the chips are down, the good teams find a way to make the plays necessary to emerge victorious. And so far, with the exception of the Seattle game, which included a smorgasbord of coaching gaffes, the Broncos have come through in those moments. Diego says, you two are the best. Also, when do you think this offense can make that leap? Thank you, Diego. What do you think, Scott? When?
Next week. I mean, I think
Raiders.
I think it can start happening right away. So we've seen incremental steps and improvements again. And this was a defense unlike any you've seen. This was the best defense you may face all season. So that you struggled against it. It's not going to be the last time the San Francisco defense and those edge rushers make an offense look bad. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
So one of the things, there was another point I was going to make. It's late.
It is late. It's okay, guys. We've been grinding since the cock crowed this morning, getting set up at the tailgate and having a lot of fun in the sun with you guys, with so many of you, and then going to the game and just the ups, the downs, the adrenaline. It was great. The Cherries jumping in. Hey, what's going on? It's been a minute since we've seen you. A win is a win. In the end, or end of the day, it's ugly. Got to fix a lot of things, I know, but this defense is insane. And hey, the red zone dam broke. That's true. Win is win. The Broncos were a perfect 1 for 1 in the red zone tonight. So Melvin Gordon came this far from fumbling Denver's hopes away tonight, but some modicum of redemption with the touchdown run. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean some, but I started thinking, okay, we may not see Melvin Gordon again, and there he is again. I mean, there's faith and there's blind faith and there's misplaced faith.
True.
And this is starting to get a little scary. Garth Knight said, I'm a Broncos fan due to Russ, but I'm an MHH fan because of all the cats under the MHH umbrella. We appreciate you,
dude.
Garth. And
You're a prince.
We've got a great community. Again, it's a very diverse community with lots of folks in it. Broncos 007, typical Tebow-like win. Terrible QB play for 3 quarters. Then we magically win a bad game. Love seeing you all before the game. You too as well. You too,
bro. It wasn't just. I wouldn't actually say it was Tebow-like. I would say it was 2015 Bronco-like. In other words, the defense does all the heavy lifting. When the chips are down, offense just finds a way to get that one drive, and then, hey, we get the win. But I get your point. Look at this legend. We owe a lot more than tips of caps to D-Dub, who also made the long pilgrimage from Paradise, and then treated us, Scott and I, to great seats. Love you, Dale, you and Gretchen, and it was great meeting you, 2 of your kids anyway, my friend. So, and then he jumps in with a super thank you, bro. He says, I knew this was going to be a battle. Considering the way the Niners played, didn't understand why we didn't roll out Wilson. So more boots and whatnot. But a win is a win. A great game to be at. Yeah, it was. Dark Side D won this one. Wilson got it done in the 4th. I loved the graphic they put up there with the music for the Dark Side D. That was really cool. But yeah, everything you said, true. Absolutely. The Dark Side D won the game. You saw Bradley Chubb make a play in the clutch. Was robbed of a pick 6, but what are you going to do? And then Randy Gregory getting his too. So you're seeing a true dynamic edge rushing duo take shape.
And those guys are a little bit like home run hitters. They may strike out 3 times in the first 7 innings, but they're going to come through with a big play. All they do is make big plays. It's like they're very quiet. They're very quiet. They're very quiet. Then they make a big play. I remember the point I was going to make because it was coaching gaffes.
Here it is.
And D-Dub reminded me on this one with the 49ers. One of those coaching gaffes, in my opinion, was not in the first half, was not pushing the Broncos back for their opening field goal.
Right.
You're at 55 yards.
That was weird.
Which is about a 45-yarder in most places. That is certainly well within makeable field goal range. The Broncos hadn't been able to run their way through a wet paper bag. They certainly, the odds of them getting 13 yards to getting back into that same spot for a 4th and field goal range were slim.
Yeah.
But you gave them that opportunity. Gave it to them.
Gave it to
them.
It's almost like Kyle Shanahan was like feeling sorry for Nathaniel Hackett.
Think, like, 55 yards. Okay. You know, I don't know, but 55 yards, it's not a chip shot by any measure, but it's certainly a makeable field goal.
For Brandon McManus in particular.
In Mile High.
Yep.
And you lost by a point.
Dale.
I called that out right away.
You did. You were like, what? The Sam Hill?
Moving
Dale,
back.
We love you, dude. Appreciate you so much. Safe travels home, my friend. Can't wait to see you at the next one. And
thank you. Mile High salute.
Yes, right.
Mr. D-Dub. Thank you, Dale.
Love you, big dog. Okay, so we're going to make sure we get to every super chat tonight because they are stacking up. But we also want to rotate in here in a few minutes. We've got Eric Trickle with us. We've got Carl Dumler with us in the hotel room. And
so I'm step out.
Let's get Andre first, and then you step out.
I'll get Andre here. So I said we go to Vegas, beat the brakes off the Raiders, and then go 7-1 until the bye. We get the offense to start cooking. It's not out of the question. There's no every game is winnable. Every game is beatable. I know.
Mm-hmm.
But the schedule is still very favorable in the first half here. And I think the next 3 games were tougher games. And I thought the Broncos should win all 3, but wouldn't win all 3. So I think even coming out of this stretch of this next 3 games, if you split the next 2, what's that make you? 3-2 out of the first 5 games. And when the next 2, you coming out instead of 7-1, 6-2, you're still in pretty darn good shape.
Meanwhile, you never know how the division is going to shape up. And all 3 division opponents found a way to step on their own you-know-whats tonight.
Bad losses. The Chiefs, the Colts get their first win of the season against the Chiefs. All of a sudden, break up the Jaguars, man. Break them up. Break them up. They're out of control.
They're a monopoly. We need
a beat down 24-0 from the Colts to the Jag. All of a sudden, doesn't look so bad.
Yeah, pride. Hey, I guess it's pride. Jess, thank you for the super, buddy. 3 games, only 36 points by the defense. Let's go. Yes, sir, bro. And then Nate saying the Broncos, let it breathe tonight. # let's ride. All right. Should we tag team? Should we tag?
Yeah, I
tag
think. Who is that?
Eric, come sit
you wanna
down.
Jump in.
We'll-
All right,
we'll
Broncos
grab
country. Thanks for having me. I've had a blast in Denver, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Scott. Hold on. Hang tight for 1 sec, gang. Eric Trickle, bro, if you share with our community, we got a few more minutes before we'll say goodnight because we also want to hear from Carl here. But what were your main takeaways from the Broncos narrowly edging out the Niners tonight?
The defense is the biggest one. Having Josie Jewell back, the communicator on that defense, was huge. You and Scott were talking about his impact in all offseason, even going back to last year. I kept talking about he's the linebacker to bring back, and he really showed why. He was flying all over the field, and then the pass rushers as well. I mean, that front seven is starting to put it together. They were struggling with Alex Singleton. In the secondary, they're not having the miscommunication issues. This defense looks legit. The offense just needs to catch up. But if you're able to squeak out a win is a win.
It's a win, and you don't apologize for a win in the league, ladies and gentlemen. Vincent with a very generous super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, will Jerry Jeudy ever learn how to catch the ball? Is it time to move on? Well, Scott has a very early travel morning tomorrow, and so I'll give him credit to this. But when I was ready to castigate Jerry Jeudy for that deep shot that he didn't catch, who was it? Chardavius Ward got a piece of it. Someone got a piece of it. And so, yeah, you still want to see him maybe make a play, but when your eye is on the ball and and it's concentrated shot down the field, and the momentum of that ball gets tipped by a player, it's if the other guy catches it, if Jerry Jeudy catches that, you tip your cap and you go, playmaker, love it. But at the same time, I have a hard time crucifying him for that when the other guy got a piece on it.
And that's one of the where the defensive backs were and everything. That's one of those things you would just want Wilson to just put it a little bit more in front of him, and it just fell a little bit short. Hat tip to the defensive player. He made a great play on it. I think there was a bigger issue that he had on a play earlier where it was back near the south goal line, and he just danced around for a good second and a half at the line of scrimmage before even getting off. And it's those TikTok route running that he does that he's just got to, clean up and do away with, really. But I'm not going to crucify him just yet for it. We'll see how it's going to go. I mean, new quarterback, if we're giving a whole offensive pass for that, he should get a little bit of a break for that.
I agree. Michael Davis, thank you for the super chat, my friend, saying, I just jumped in. Aloha, gents. Hey, right back at you. Let's hope this win gives us some momentum. We're going to need more of these. Go Broncos. One thing that's really encouraging about wins like this, and Carl, I want to get your thoughts on this here in a second, is that over the last 6 years, the Broncos have really forgotten how to win. And so the confidence a team like this takes, I mean, I know it wasn't perfect, don't get me wrong, but to have 2 of your 3 wins, this isn't like last year, Eric, where it was like we knew when they went 3-0, they were whistling past the graveyard. It was fool's gold. In our heart of hearts, we knew, right? We hoped and wanted to believe otherwise, but we knew. Meanwhile, we're talking 6 years of just finding every which way, scraping the bottom of the barrel to find every last way to lose. They forgot how to win. And so to have a new leader come in Russell Wilson that's encouraging them, and when he says, hey, guys, this is the drive where we need to make the play, this is the game-winning drive, and he does it 2 weeks in a row, the confidence and the belief that instills in a team that lost that for so many years, still a very young team around Russ, let's face it, that's something that shouldn't be slept on, because that's the type of thing where you're putting money in the bank and you're going to draw from that later on, the confidence these 2 wins gives you.
Yeah, and with the closing out the games, I mean, the biggest, Carl said this to me after the game, and it's perfect, is over the years, we saw the defense have a great performance, but they weren't able to finish. They weren't able to get over that extra, those final 10, 15 minutes, and they're starting to be able to. And not only that, they're stepping up even more in those final 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And they're just getting that closing out the games, which you needed. And then, again, just got to have the offense catch up. I mean, Russell Wilson, he's came up big in the last 2 weeks. We just want to see it a little bit more consistently throughout, because when you get to the Chiefs, it's going to be tough.
Yep, you better bring your guns when it's the Chiefs. Cherries, again, thank you We have only had one passer reach 200 yards on this defense, and that was tonight. Gosh, it sure didn't feel like even 200 yards, did it? Has our defense allowed any 100-yard passes? I would guess he meant receivers or 100-yard rusher. I don't think so, but I don't have the box scores pulled up, and my normal command of the Rolodex in my brain right now is a little frizzle fried from the day. So that's a question for the sages and prophets of time. You got a Google machine? Tell us in the chat because my brain's a little fried right now.
Yeah,
I don't think so, though.
I don't think they have a lot of 100-yard rusher. Receiver, if that's what you meant, I'm not sure on that. I don't think so, but I know they didn't allow a 100-yard. Haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher.
Okay, let's grab this one, Eric, from Mason, and then we'll get some thoughts from Carl, and we'll say goodnight to everybody. Mason Brown, very generous of you. Thank you, my friend. It was so refreshing to see Jewel back. Yeah, it was. Except when he isn't in coverage versus, yeah. Well, but here's the thing. On that wheel route to Samuel, his job is to cover the running back out of the backfield. It just so happens to be wide receiver / running back Deebo Samuel. Scott, while we were sitting there, he goes, Jewel needs to recognize that and be closer and then jam and impede his. In a perfect world, yeah, but heat of battle, it's flash bang, it's bomb, bomb, bomb. Who would have ever guessed that in a foot race, Josie Jewell loses to Deebo Samuel?
Yeah, it's just one of those plays where their linebackers are taught different ways to handle it. Some of them, it's you go get that contact a little bit early, but then you're opening yourself up if you don't succeed to allow the big play afterwards. I think Jewell, trying to remember the exact play, it's a little bit blurry, but it seemed like he just went for a little bit more depth, which is the way to kind of like protect it a little bit from the big play happening.
Let's grab one more because Andre's addressing you specifically. Eric, he says, Chad, just want to know what you think, and Eric as well. If we beat the Raiders, do you think it's possible to get hot and win 3 by the bye week and be basically at 7-1? Is it possible? It's definitely possible. Is it likely is the more pertinent question here. I don't think it's likely, but at the same time, this team has shown me through 3 weeks that the players have heart and they have grit. And what we learned tonight too, Eric, is when the coaches at least show like replacement level competency, the players will go out there and even when it's not perfect, they'll bring home a dub.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what the schedule is for the next 3 weeks. I know next week's the Raiders. That should be I don't want to say an easy win, but with that, the Raiders defense, they look like straight booty cheeks. And so you just got to stop the offense and defense seems up to the task.
This is a family-friendly show.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That was PG.
But the 2 games after that, I can't remember who they are. I think one of them is the Colts, who beat the Chiefs. And
Raiders, Colts next. Those are the next 2 opponents in that order.
Yeah, and who knows what the Colts will be like. I mean, they beat the Chiefs, but they've been pretty bad the first couple weeks too. So
yeah. Well, Eric, dude, this was a lot of fun, of course, having you come to the meet and greet, which is per tradition now. Again, I must reiterate, MHH Broncos undefeated at the meet and greet. This is a tradition, a magical equation. No, that's not right. What do they call it? Incantation? I don't know. I'm half delirious right now, if you guys can't tell. That we must continue into the future. So thanks to everyone who came. We're not signing off yet. We want to hear from Carl. We'll get a few more super chats, and then we'll say goodnight. But, Eric, love you, big dog. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And, I mean, meeting everybody, it was great. It was a joy. And, Denver's still perfect while I'm there. And
that's right.
It's led to some pretty funny tweets in response. I put that out on Twitter. But everybody who showed up at the meet and greet is great. And definitely I'll do my best to be back down here next year.
Was this number 2 game?
Yeah.
Okay, so number 2 game for Eric. These are the 2 guys that you want in attendance, okay? Because I've been to many games since I was a wee boy, all right? Never have I witnessed in the flesh, in person, a Broncos loss, not one time. So we got to just make sure we're here. Nick's not here.
Yeah, Nick stays far away.
Yeah, so. All right, well, let's hear from Carl Dumler, and then we'll sign off. And, of course, guys, if you have any burning topics, questions, you want to get off your chest, get it in now because we only have a few more minutes. Cherries, I mistyped on my first. No worries. And we do appreciate you throwing down a super to clarify things. Carl, first things first, bro. You and I have worked together for many, many moons now at MHH.
That's right.
Today was the first time we got to meet in the flesh, though.
Yeah.
So it was really great to meet you in person. It's been fun hanging with you.
Yeah, it's been a great time. I didn't know what to expect with the meet and greet. You know, some of the guys had told me from last year how it went and how much fun it was, and just getting the chance to be able to come out this year and meet some of you guys and just put a face to a lot of these names that we get to talk to every single week.
Cool.
And yeah, it's very cool. And then getting to meet you guys I talk to you guys all the time.
Yeah.
And Eric, I almost talk to him more than my own wife sometimes. So, so yeah, just getting to meet him in person.
We'll cut this part out of the edit. Don't worry.
But no, it's been great. And I just wanted to point out the Alaskan wearing the Hawaiian shirt. You know, he doesn't like the mainland here.
This is true. So, it is kind of a weird thing, right? When you get to know someone, people like through the internet, and you end up getting to know them quite well. And then you meet in the flesh, and it's like, you're like, yeah, this is the first time we're meeting, but it doesn't really feel like it's the first time you're meeting.
Right. Yeah. It's longtime friends.
That's right.
And now we just actually get to talk in person. And so, yeah, it's been great. I've loved this time. It's been one of my favorite, probably Bronco memories I've ever had. I'll put John Elway's last fourth quarter comeback being live for that game.
That's a hard flex.
Right there. That was a really good one. And of course, it was against the Chiefs. So gotta love that more. At least regular season, I shouldn't say. I think he had one in the playoffs too. So, but yeah, other than that, this has been such a great memory getting to be there for this game with the fans, getting to meet everybody. Yeah, this has just been a wonderful time.
Speaking of great, Albert Knoppers, who has been with us the last 2 days here in Denver, having a good time with his wife, Michelle, has been great hanging out with you. As always, my friend, he says that I predicted Russ to have a rushing touchdown, not quite right, but a rush that created that scoring drive. So true. At the very least, he anticipated, Carl, that Russ was going to start using his legs a little bit more.
Yeah, he had to. You know, it's been missing these first couple of weeks. You can see he's had a little bit of hesitancy. He wants to play within the scope of the play.
Right.
And so it's now nice that he's finally saying, all right, you know what? I just got to take over sometimes, and I got to go make this kind of play. I'm still a little frustrated about where they marked it just inches short, and then they challenged, and of course they lost the challenge. But, both those challenges, oh my gosh, you can't get any closer on those. And I get it. It was close and all that, but it's good to see Russ really kind of putting it all out there to go get us a victory.
Andre, thank you for clarifying. He says, I meant through to the bye week, 7-1 after the Raiders getting hot with him. Yeah, our answer still stands on that one, my friend. Thank you, though, for clarifying with a super chat, helping us keep the lights on at MHH. We do appreciate that, my friend. Carl, you're the only one that I haven't asked this yet, so let me get this out of the way. But what were your overarching takeaways from tonight's game?
Well, I mean, the defense is legit. I think we kind of had through those first couple games, it was the Seahawks, it was the Texans. They held the 49ers under 100 yards rushing. That's hard to do against a Kyle Shanahan offense.
Yep.
And Deebo Samuel, 5 carries, 6 yards.
Shut him down.
That is amazing. Now, he did get some receiving plays and all that, but, for all the gimmicks that the 49ers offense can run, it's just incredible to see that the Broncos kind of had answers. They gave up a couple plays here and there, but they always kind of tightened it up, figured some things out, and next thing you know, boom, Broncos getting turnovers. They're making plays, getting 3 and outs. It was just that defense. I'm so excited to watch them the rest of the year.
Especially because it buys Russ and everyone time to continue to work out all their hormones and get things figured out.
Right.
Master Classa, thank you for the super sticker. Don't know exactly what it says, but thank you for the super sticker. And Lilo5626 with the super sticker. Thank you. We do appreciate that. Chaos Josh, a.k.a. Oi Boy 90, a.k.a. my brother in punk rock, jumping in with a super chat to say, good teams show up in big moments. Today, the Denver Broncos showed up. I just hope this isn't another year where the defense is solid and the O is trash, Carl.
Yeah, I think one thing we have to keep in mind, this is how Russell Wilson has won a lot of his career. I know Scott kind of said it earlier that you can't make an offense based on this, but a lot of his games have always been really close. Defense keeps him at least close enough to go make plays in the fourth quarter, and he shows up in the fourth quarter. And so if that's what it's going to take, I mean, hopefully everybody, get your heart right, because it's going to be pounding throughout the rest of the year. That fourth quarter, I mean, like I said, it was magical being in that stadium.
Mm-hmm.
I about had to sit down because it was shaking so bad. I was like, oh my gosh.
Vertigo.
Yeah. But yeah, get used to that. That's what he does. He loves that that spotlight. He loves those big moments. And so it's great for us because it means a lot of victories that are going to show up in big ways. But yeah, you wish you could get these blowout wins. That doesn't happen very often in the NFL. The offense, I really do believe they're going to get something figured out.
Plus,
there's a lot of weapons here.
Contemplate the alternative. We could be facing the same thing we faced for the last few years, where it's a pretty good defense, and then the quarterback gets a shot to all they need is that one drive in the fourth, and they don't deliver.
Yeah.
So that's the alternative. So tonight, when you lay your head down to sleep, you count your blessings, you thank your lucky stars, what have you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, again, you take a victory every chance you get it. And one's against like the 49ers. 49ers, they were a playoff team last year. So it wasn't like the Broncos are playing nobody.
Yeah.
And they did that with Jimmy G. So it's not, I know he's backup quarterback this year, but he's still a good quarterback in the NFL. He should be a starter for some team. And so the Broncos coming out here, putting on this kind of show against some great weapons that they have and a defense like they have, and to come out with a victory on a Sunday Night Football, man, you got to be happy about it.
You got to. Michael wants to know how's Zach doing after the game. Zach's doing great. It just didn't work out with travel and stuff like that. And not travel, but like getting out of the stadium and different things. Unfortunately, tonight I wasn't able to make the gut reaction, but it's he would love to be here. He gives everyone his props and congratulations for the win. Of course, he's just as stoked to see what's happening right now as everybody is. So shout out Zach Kelberman. Pete Middleton, Carl wants to know, sign Griffith and Jewell before they get expensive. Whoops.
Yeah. I remember going through all the AFC West rosters, and everybody was going, oh, the Broncos, they got to do something about that off-ball linebacker. And I'm going, Broncos maybe have the best off-ball linebackers in the division.
Yep.
Kansas City has a couple guys that look pretty promising, but these two guys, they're both very solid. They make the plays. They're in the right spot at the right time. That's what you want in this kind of defense.
Boy, again, jumping in to say, we ain't taking the 60 bus out of downtown Campbell, Benzonato. He was all right. I'll stop with the punk rock karaoke, but that's why he paid the $2 and he got what he paid for. That's what I do. I deliver in the clutch. All right. These are things that Russ and we have in common. What do you want me to do? Oi, boy. Love you, big dog. All right. We're about out of time here, but let's grab one or two more. And then we'll say goodnight here from Rello Takeover. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for the super. He says, this was the biggest game of the year. Keep writing. This was, oddly, Carl, for a non-conference game, this was a game that was very replete with meaning that kind of stretched beyond the fact that it was non-conference. Like, with all the outside noise and all the questions of Nathaniel Hackett's competency, all the questions about Russell Wilson and his legs and everything, like, they just needed to go out there, and even if it was imperfect as it was tonight, prove that no, silence, we got this. And they delivered a win against what is probably going to be, one of those teams that pushes for one of the playoffs or wild card playoffs in the NFC.
Yeah. I remember seeing a visual earlier on Twitter about how the Broncos were not even ranked as a top 10 team in the AFC. And I'm going, especially these kind of wins, when you do this, it proves that is completely false. This is a great team that has a lot of talent. They just got to figure some things out. And they figured out a few things this week. Everybody was getting after him. The game management, well, that was so much better this week. Got after him for, some of the red zone or goal line stuff. Hey, the one time they had the goal line, boom, they go in there and score. Yep. So the big things that everybody was kind of complaining about, the Broncos actually did okay with some of that. Now, again, some of the play calling has to be cleaned up. Some of the execution out there on the field has to be cleaned up. But this was a great defense. They had some great pass rushers getting after Russell Wilson. He was rattled. But like I said, when it came final, you need to play, he made a play.
Pete says, again, talking of linebackers, Carl, would you sign Bradley Chubb early, get it done, because he is in a contract year, or wait to check and kind of verify he stays healthy?
I'm waiting. That guy's been too banged up, 2 ACL tears on that same knee. I want to see him make it through the entire season, and I might still even just do the franchise tag at that point. I know it's going to be expensive.
That's what I was going to say.
I'd like to see 2 years of healthy. Sign Draymond Jones to that long-term contract, give the franchise tag to Bradley Chubb, keep him around, but make sure he proves himself to be healthy.
I missed who asked this question. Here it is from William on YouTube. Didn't the Broncos bring in a guy upstairs to help Hackett? Yeah, they did. They hired a coach. Oh, the frizzled brain is not the recall right now is not helping me. But yes, they hired a guy, former Baltimore Ravens assistant under Harbaugh, the Super Bowl champion, John Harbaugh Ravens. And I think it came out in the wash. I mean, he was there all week. Broncos didn't announce anything. The report didn't come through Mike Klis till yesterday, Carl. But from his reporting, we learned that coach, I'll find his name. Give me a second. But he had been with the Broncos all week long, and it came out in the wash in the sense that the big gaffes, there was no delay of games.
Yep.
And all the big critical moments, you can say, no, Hackett shouldn't have challenged the Russ stretch play, or I'm trying to remember what the other challenge was.
Was it the punt?
That's right, the touchback. But you know what? They were close enough that I think. Whoa! Stand by. Nathaniel Hackett's trying to barge into our podcast here. What's going on? Stop. There we go. This man's name, this new coach, is Jerry Rosberg, or is it Roseburg? I don't know. Roseburg maybe, but that's the new assistant that's going to help Nathaniel Hackett iron out the kinks.
Yeah, I think some people got after him of, oh my gosh, he shouldn't have these kind of problems. If he's going to be a head coach, he should be able to handle this. I'm going, every head coach has their different weaknesses.
Yeah.
The bigger problem is those that can't admit their weaknesses and continue to go into them. You know, like we've seen with Brandon Staley the last couple of years where he's been so uber aggressive that it's almost cost them a few games. It's cost them the playoffs. Andy Reid, I think he's cost himself a couple Super Bowls because of his play or his clock management.
True.
You know, what would happen if he had some guy that was just hired just to do that part for him? And so to me, if this is what it takes for Hackett to be good, hey, whatever, do it. Be humble.
A leader, part of what makes them, are they a good leader or not, is do they know how to delegate? And in that sense, what I mean is, as a boss, you hire around your weaknesses. I talk about this a lot on the podcast. I don't have the time nor the expertise to study the draft like you do, like Eric does, like Nick does. So what do? I go find great guys, knowledgeable analysts over the years that can do that. Nathaniel Hackett, so busy juggling all the other demands of being the head coach, calling the offense, dialoguing with Russ in game and all that stuff, that he realized this is a weakness. I got to address this, hired around it. You want to see that recognition, although we know George Payton had a lot to say about it too, based on the reporting from Mike Klis.
Yeah, for sure. So again, I don't view it as a bad thing that he did this. I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great showing of him saying, okay, we see a problem on this team. We're going to do something to fix it. So I'm expecting big things moving forward with that.
Two more, and then we're saying goodnight. Michaela, again, thank you, my friend. She says, I was so impressed by Jewell. He had a heck of a game. Also, I think Hackett will be okay. Yeah, don't sleep on the importance and the value of Josey Jewell. And when he got hurt last year, to whatever it was, 2-3 games into the season, we were all talking on the podcast. We're like, wow, he had turned a corner. He was showing up in coverage. His run fits were killer. He wasn't missing tackles. And we're like, if the Broncos get this version of Josey Jewell, man, yeah, this is a guy you give that second contract. Then he gets hurt in a contract year. We're like, dadgummit. Broncos saw that, though. They saw that for him. And I questioned this offseason when they brought him back. It's like, hey, are we going to get that version of Josey, or the kind of he giveth and he taketh away Josey of the first 3 seasons? Seems like it's only one game, so we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but he looked a lot tonight like that guy the first 2-3 games last year.
Yeah, I don't think there's a team that will throw more complicated things at the linebackers than what we saw tonight. And Josey Jewell rose up to that kind of occasion, so I expect him to be what he was last year. He's going to be the green dot guy, which having him back on the field, getting everybody lined up. You saw a couple times tonight, guys were a little bit struggled getting lined up where they needed to be. But again, I expect a lot of this stuff to continue to get cleaned up as they get further into the season. You know, they're still working with Evero for the first time. And that might be the best move Hackett made, hiring that guy.
You know what I loved? That's such a great point. I was paying attention to this because I was on the Broncos sideline side. When his team would make a play, or his unit would make a play, and then they'd come off the field, whoever that guy was that made the play, Evero would run up to him on the sideline and give him props and like stoke him out and be like, good job. And it was like, hey, that's cool because he's showing fire, because he's not a fiery guy when you hear him at the podium.
Yeah.
But it's showing you that behind closed doors, the relationship he has with his guys is not only one of encouragement and all that you want to see from a coach, but like fired up when they're fired up, you know. And I thought that was kind of cool to see from just his personality component. He's new to us. We still don't know all that much about Evero. We're getting to know him. I liked seeing that. And by the way, Garth Knight's throwing down a super chat to say, Carl.
Hey, Garth. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you, and appreciate all of you coming in here late at night. I know it is bedtime for a lot of people, bedtime almost for each and every one of us.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we appreciate you sticking with us and sticking with us all day. You know, it's just been an all day thing with us. And so far, we haven't worn you out quite yet.
And Jeremy, it was great seeing you, buddy. It was great meeting you. Great hanging. Appreciate you. He says MHH went above and beyond today. Hit a like. Yeah, if you can find it in the kindness of your hearts, like the video before you dip on out, especially if you're on YouTube, especially if you're on Facebook. But speaking of bedtime, I'm so tired. I'm going to bed. You ready to go to sleep? We're not going to sleep in the same bed. Don't get weird, okay? Get your minds out of the gutter, okay? But I really am tired. I got to go to sleep.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Thank you guys again.
Again, minds out of the gutter, okay?
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a good night, and Bronco victory. Go dream those sweet dreams and get ready to celebrate tomorrow with everybody. And I'm just excited as this team moves forward because I think the best days are ahead.
Thanks to everybody who came out. Last message. Everyone who joined us today at the meet and greet, thank you for making the trip. So, I mean, there's a few that live in Denver and they come and they see us and it was great. But most of the people that came sacrificed, spent money on plane tickets, spent money to buy tickets to the game, all that stuff, and came from a long ways away. So we appreciate each and every one of you that showing up today at the meet and greet. It was so great to hang with each and every one of you. And we're going to do it again next year. It might not be week 3. Maybe it will. Either way, it's we're looking forward to that next year. But as Carl said, we're going to sign off. Don't forget to follow on I guess I better go through this or else Zach's going to kill me. Follow us on Twitter at Mile High Huddle. That's the main account, okay? Connect with us there. Don't forget to get your swag on. Go to huddleuppod.com. You'll find merchandise there that is expertly designed, expertly curated, okay, by an OG. He goes by the name Uncle Jeffy, all right? I'm going to leave him as a man of mystery for now to those of you in the chat. But if you were at the meet and greet today, you wouldn't be scratching your head going, Uncle Jeffy, what's Jensen talking about? You would know. You'd be an insider. All right. So shame on you if you didn't make it. But go to huddleuppod.com, get your swag on. And you know what? That's enough for tonight. Love you. Appreciate you. Celebrate the win. Never apologize for a win. We'll see you next year at the meet and greet. And then Zach and I will be back on tomorrow night for the Aftermath pod. I don't think there's going to be a Broncos for breakfast tomorrow because Scott's making his trip back home. I don't know. Maybe Nick is. If Nick is, then you'll see Nick in the morning. But otherwise, love you guys. Get some sleep.